When you were last on Tinder, sorry.
Straight in. I've got a message. It says LinkedIn says you are not approved for LinkedIn Live. It's only available for a limited group of members of organizations. One or more of the members of the organization known as Kerfuffle are wanted by several governments.
Screw them. We don't need them anyway. Biggest business platform in the world. Here we are. Charlie Perdios, welcome to the Kerfuffle podcast. How are you, my friend?
I'm very well, very well.
Well, and let's deal with it straight away because you're lucky to be here, aren't you?
Yeah, I suppose so. I did.
Okay, we're going to need a bit more.
Hang on. Can you qualify that? How lucky is he?
You were in hospital in a bad way, weren't you, Charlie?
Yeah, I had the virus in March, so in the peak. To be honest, I felt a little bit of a few aches and pains. Thought, you know what, 7-day isolation upstairs in the loft. This is going to be great. It's going to be a holiday. Yeah. After about 7-8 days, though, it was, well, actually, after 5 days, it was really bad. The 8th day, I thought I was getting better. And then day 9 just deteriorated, couldn't breathe, ended up going to hospital. I was saying I don't want to go to hospital because obviously you're reading in the press as well. You know, you've got 50-50 chance if you go on a ventilator.
Yeah. So admit it, Charlie, that you were worried you were going to have that discussion that we all worry about having with a doctor, where the doctor looks you in the eye and he goes, "I'm going to have to shave your head to get this mask on."
Well, I mean, 50-50, that's almost a 1 in 2.
That's exactly it, David. You've hit the nail right on the head. Yeah, exactly it. No, luckily my oxygen levels were okay and I didn't have to stay in for long.
So the first and most obvious question is how somebody fit and healthy like your good self could be taken down by this. I mean, it doesn't say much about your stamina, does it?
Hang on. Can I just go through the medical questionnaire with Charlie?
Yes.
Charlie, how old are you, sir, please?
I'm 44 years old.
44, right? Okay. And would you say you're fit and healthy generally?
Very fit and healthy generally, yes.
Okay, all right. Do you have any of the following? Syphilis, gonorrhea, herpes?
I gave him 2 of those.
Have you ever shared a glass with Simon Whale at a conference? You don't want to answer these questions. Okay, I'm going to go through any underlying hair conditions.
No
health conditions.
No, I managed to have a Zoom haircut, and I've managed to get the back cut now as well. Because last week it was a bit Mad Max style. It was a bit of a mullet at the back, but
very impressive.
Again, Charlie, Peter Rawlings was on yesterday, and he was amazingly coiffured. Your hair is pretty much, again, yeah, I've got to admit, it is looking perfect. There's no way you haven't seen a hairdresser in this period, is there? Admit it.
No.
You liar.
I've YouTubed how to cut my own hair. Seriously.
No. You see, a man who takes his hair as seriously as you wouldn't dream of doing a home botch it job.
I think we've got him here on the road.
David, in many things, one of them cutting hair. So if it doesn't work out in the property industry, you might see me.
Charlie, let's ask you some real questions because Simon knows you very well. You are a well-known figure within the industry, and Anthony Pepe as a brand in general is well known. I don't know you from Adam, my friend. Yeah, I know jack shit about you, right? But I'd like to know who is Charlie Perdios? How did he get into property? Is there an Anthony Pepe? If so, where have you buried him?
Okay.
Sorry about this, Charlie.
That's a bit awkward because
you don't get this with Watkins.
I know.
You don't get it.
There will be no learning today.
No, seriously. How did you get into property, Charlie?
How did I get into property?
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't start off in the property industry. I was actually an accountant, believe it or not. Absolutely hated it. Very good friends with Ari Theodorou, who's the other director in the business. Obviously, he does all the radio. I do all the TV work.
He does all the work, he tells me.
He does all the work. That's what he says, yeah, when he sees you, yeah. He does. He's a grafter, yeah. I'll just talk. We were good friends since the age of 16. I was buying a few properties, got involved in property, but didn't know anything about estate agency, to be honest, at the time. We were watching Arsenal, sitting together at Highbury, and Harry said to me, "Do you know what? We should open an estate agency up, because I banked 100 grand last year on my own, and we could do that ourselves." This was in the glory days, Simon. Before you say any jokes, it was in Highbury.
What year? Put this in context. What year was this?
This was probably about 2002.
That is the last time that Arsenal won a home game at Highbury.
Oh, football banter! I didn't know we had this.
Straight in there. I'm on the today.
No, so with the accountancy firm I was working for at the time, they actually had a property business within it. So I started running that with sort of an eye of thinking, right, I'm going to open up an agency myself. We were looking to open up a fresh agency, but in the meantime, we found Anthony Pepe was for sale. It was just a one-office agency in Palmer's Green. So Anthony Pepe was established in 1987 by a gentleman called Anthony Pepe, who sadly passed away in 2003.
David.
And we basically bought it at the end of 2003, beginning of 2004. And it was a tiny little agency, had 6 properties on the books for sale, 2 under management. It was probably the 7th best agent in Palmer's Green.
Now it's the 9th.
Hey. Yeah, and that was it, really. We just worked our asses off, built up the agency. Well, actually, for the first 3 months, I was on my own, because Harry said, well, actually, I've got quite a good pipeline at Douglas Allen where he was, so I might have to stay here until Christmas. All right, great. So, yeah.
Charlie, talk us when you started this up, though, what was it you had in mind? What was going to be different about it, apart from the hair? What was the culture going to be behind the company?
Well, I think the advantage I had when I started was I hadn't worked in a corporate, and I didn't have this perceived way of doing things. So every time we were looking into setting certain processes up, I was always looking a little bit outside the box, because I wasn't looking at things from the point of view of an estate agent. I was looking at things from the point of view of common sense, to be honest. Yeah, so we changed a lot of things. I was always challenging the sort of the norm and the way just corporates just did things. So I was always looking at improving stuff. So I think we were quite innovative, quite from the word go, basically, from the beginning, and people liked that. And culture-wise, I mean, that, in the beginning, the culture just was me and Harry, because obviously we were the main people in the business, and that probably stayed until then we opened up the other offices, and that's when the challenge of replicating that culture came.
Yeah, and you were very innovative. You are very innovative, because, I mean, as you mentioned, you were a smaller organisation. Certainly, when I definitely wanted to target you, it was because you were that demographic where it was very clear. You I think at the time you had 2 or 3 offices when we spoke, but you were going to be one of those brilliant businesses that suppliers love. They start off with one, and then if you stay with them, they will grow bigger and bigger and better. And everything else, and even at that, you've been working now. I don't want to make his head ever any bigger, but you've been working with Ian White as a consultant from a very early stage, haven't you? And have had him on board for some time now, haven't you?
Yeah, I gave him his big break.
Hey, that's what I like.
I was his first client.
Oh, is that right? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was his first client in 2014. So I've been with Ian. I've been with Ian for ages. And
you're that difficult client he spoke about. Now it all makes sense.
I'm apparently his favourite client, but he says that to all the girls, obviously.
Yeah, of course. So what does somebody? I mean, somebody like him is obviously fantastic, but just so that it's what does somebody like a mentor, a development coach? What does he give your business?
Right. So when he came into the business, we were at 2 offices. So it was just Palmer's Green and Haringey, both successful offices, market leading in the area. But straight away, I mean, he did his properties, he did his MOT of the business, and one of the things that he noticed that was a problem if we were going to scale up was the way we remunerated our staff.
So the contract.
Yeah, so we were
to pay them.
We've changed several times since then, but it was basically we needed to create hungry lions within the business. That's a phrase he uses a lot, and the way the business was structured, it was too easy for everyone. Everything was just falling into their laps, and there was no real incentive to go and hunt for more business. So that's what we changed straight away. And that was prospecting, really.
Right. Okay. So basically, you're saying that Ian White is the is Joe from that documentary with the lions. That's him. Is that what you're saying? He's our Joe.
I bet you haven't watched it, have you?
I haven't. No.
Frame of reference.
Then just say yes. Just say yes.
Yes.
Yes, it's him.
It's him.
And so when you change that with the casualties, because I know from my experience when you suddenly take it, my business partner's got a great saying, and he always says this: it's easy to give it, it's hard to take it away. So once you give something, you've got to be prepared at some point that if you do have to take away, that you're going to lose that person.
As soon as you change a commission structure, even if they're going to be better off, they will look at you and think, what are they doing? We must be losing out in some way. And there were casualties because we wanted to create more of a team element and reward people in a team. And for some people that were doing very well individually, that didn't sit well with them. So there were some casualties. So it's almost like, one step back, 2 steps forwards. You do have some casualties, but for the longer good of the company, it's for the best.
1 step forward, 2 steps forward. That's the ministry of silly walks. That's not a business metaphor.
Anyway, step back, 2 steps forward.
So how has what he's done with you changed as you've grown as a business?
I think,
apart from his fee.
I won't mention the fee. No. So first of all, it was changing the culture of the business, creating real process within the business. Because the skill element was there. We thought we had good processes, but Ian came in and really helped us with the processes. Really created some solid processes so that we could grow and scale up the business. Because really, even though we were 2 offices, we were still really one office. We were, because Ari was in one office, I was in the other, so we were still operating as one office. We weren't independent offices. And it wasn't really until we opened Highbury that we started to see the real issues that you have when you've got multiple offices. And we coped with it because we managed to put the processes in place in terms of how we operate. If without processes, if you're scaling up, forget it. You're just asking for trouble.
Oh, look at that. That's got to be a fix. That has. Okay, well, let's do some. We're going to do some research here. That sounds like blatant propaganda. Charlie, they obviously always advise that it's you don't go into business with your friends with your eyes closed, do they? Because it can be problematic. It's all very well when it's going well. Really, what I want to know is what arguments have you had with Harry over the years? He's a big lad, and he'd batter you.
So That's a good question, really, because a lot of people have seen, a lot of people have been in partnerships and they've gone sour. To be honest, I hate him, and we're just about to split up. So
that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted.
It's my favorite podcast question. I always ask partners in a business, "What's the secret to a great partnership?" And they all go, "Well, yeah."
It's like a marriage. It's being able to have an argument, say what you really want, and then the next day just
make up.
Yeah, not make up, just pretend it never happened.
So if we were to ask Sarah, which I think we should do, is Sarah, if you are watching or you haven't got bored, what was it that made him such a good boss? So what do you first of all, before she answers here, what Charlie do you think makes you a good boss with the one person that said you are? Come on, what is it that you do well?
I think I listen to my people. I think I'm quite empathetic to them. I do try and give them time. I'm probably quite soft sometimes, so that's probably why they're saying I'm a good boss. Ari's
come back with his knowledge and expertise and security. So it sounds like you played a lot of Trivial Pursuits.
Yeah, a bit of Trivial Pursuit.
Good. Okay. Well, that's nice to hear. David, weren't you when you worked with Murray, the amazing Murray? Weren't you You weren't a million miles from Charlie's patch, were you?
No. So I worked in two places in when I lived in London. One was Golders Green, and before that in Islington. So yeah. So I've been on his patch a couple of times.
That's what I want to get to. So, it's an interesting area, though, isn't it? You've got some.
Charlie, I've been accused of looking slightly sort of Greek or Cypriot sometimes, so I get away with that. But I don't buy. They don't buy into me. But Golders Green, they love me there. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean.
It's not a million miles away from there, is it? But
no.
Different. I
mean, obviously, Islington is, Highbury is the similar market. We started off in Palmer's Green and then went sort of down Green Lanes onto Haringey, then down to Highbury because we thought we'd move into Islington, but obviously it's hard from Highbury. But now we're sort of concentrating more north of North London, where we've opened up in Cockfosters, and we've got Crouch End as well, which is a good sort of It joins up basically Palmer's Green and Haringey.
And these are all good agents where I think although it's we would class it in the north as being London, it's very different from the central London market, isn't it?
It is. It's a bit sort of grittier and more volume than central London. But it's interesting though because I was thinking, if I could go back, would I open up in those areas? Possibly not. I'd possibly, right now, obviously, I've got the benefit of being able to look at certain data and choosing what area to go into. Then we just thought, right, let's go into Palmer's Green. But Palmer's Green was not a big area. If you have to be the sort of biggest fish in the ocean,
in that pond. So talk to me about competition then. So you said there that you're not sure whether you'd go back into those areas again today, given the choice. Is that because competition is so rife? Has the game changed? I mean,
not competition. I wouldn't. Nothing to do with the competition. It's more the size of the market. So I'd go. If I was going to go back, I'd now go into a market which was a larger market, and we could expand more. We didn't need to open other offices in different areas. So I'd look at a bigger market, really.
Yeah.
Maybe something like Islington is probably 5 or 6 times bigger than Palmer's Green, if not more. So even if you've got
it's just about the number of chimney pots basically in the area.
Number of chimney pots and the fees.
Right.
obviously, if your average sale price is $1 million compared to 400,000, and you're doing 10 sales a month, you'd rather do that where it's $1 million.
And what would you say the average fee in your marketplace is?
It
varies. Fee, but the average.
It varies. Our average fee is about 1.4, right. But that's brought down by certain offices where our competitors have much lower fees. I would say in Islington, much higher, 1.5 plus, and Palmer's Green as well, and Cockfosters. I'd say in Haringey there's a bit more competition. There's some agents undercutting, and it's more difficult.
Do you know what always fascinated me about the sort of London markets is that where you have a joint agency, you'd find that they wouldn't just be on with 2 agents. Very often they'd have sort of 4, 5, 6 agents, and they didn't care how many that they had. Over here in the north, we're a bit sleepier, but also it's probably a little bit more gentlemanly than it is in London.
It's cutthroat where we are.
For instance, when we have a joint instruction, we pick up the phone to one another and say, "Hello, we're going to be sharing this, and we're going to be splitting the fee 70-30, and this is what."
We'll say the same thing, and then phone up the vendor and say, "Right, we need to go join." Now, what they said.
But do you end up splitting fees, or is it just winner takes all?
Usually it's winner takes all. Saying that, I've just got a big, not a big development, but I've got a nice sort of fee earner now for sort of penthouse flats where we're going joint with an agent, and we're doing 70-30. So we don't usually we have done in the past until then we sort of piss each other off and then think, right, don't trust this. It's mainly winner takes all, to be honest. But I think in this market that doesn't make sense because you will spend a lot of money on the marketing. I mean, it's a hell of a lot of money, in terms of the Matterport, sometimes home staging. We might contribute to that. The lifestyle photography. We're already spending, probably 600-700 quid before we even do anything. So it's nice if you've got a joint sole to maybe guarantee your 30%.
It always makes sense to go away with something at the end of the day. If you're unlucky and you're not going to be the one to sell it, at least some of your costs.
Depends who the agent is, though, David. I mean, if the agent's
dick,
you fancy your chances, you'll go for winner takes all.
So you mentioned there winner takes all, Charlie, that one of the reasons we became the bosom buddies is because there was no bigger award whore in the industry than you and me. It's fair to say you really did take it to heart, didn't you? The old Sunday Times was you got yourself into the zone, didn't you? And it was like seeing a puppy dog. If you, on the rare occasion you didn't actually win one of the awards, it was pretty challenging. Sitting on the table.
There was one year we didn't win, and I think Jamie Lester won, didn't he? And then I threatened him at the Repeat Award, the Repeat Award, and said, next year we're going to get that back.
Let me ask you about Jamie Lester. Is he a friend of yours?
I'm not that much in contact with him. I do speak to him from time to time.
All right, well, that's good. I don't think he watches it. But I was extremely. This is a conversation that Simon and I had. I was extremely impressed by one of Jamie Lester's videos that he did for development. And I watched it, and I went, "Oh wow, that's the future. We're all going to be doing that in 5 years. It's amazing. It's high production. It's this guy is superb." And I think Simon sort of said that not all that glitters is gold, and that sometimes it's all production and no substance. What's your view of that kind of? I mean, because that's in a very American style production, isn't it? In terms of the videos and the yachts sailing in.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I saw that video, and I actually contacted him and said, that was great. I really thought that was something different. you've got to have the substance behind it to back it up, though. You know, you've got to be able to deliver on your promises.
It can't be a property in Wolverhampton like the old speedboat in Bully, could it? You know, you show a massively brilliant production, and then it's really a shithole. That doesn't work, does it? But right. I think, David, I don't think I think you've got to have a personal brand. I think that is the first thing. If you are going to go up to that one, you need to be able to. And he does come across very well. I do think I think there is a real niche for it, and I think people like him will develop it. So I think it's one to watch.
How much do you reckon they invest in that kind of product? I mean, that's got to be, well, it's got to be a 5 or 10K film, isn't it? When you put that together.
You need to talk to Chris England and the Property Video Solutions guys, don't you? Because
has he got a helicopter?
To get out of Grantham. That's really.
What are you doing now that we've got no awards? How are you coping?
It's not good, is it? I mean, genuinely, one of the things that I really fucked up on is that I did create Kerfuffle.
Everyone, and now there's no events. Is it that?
Well, no, I've created Kerfuffle as a vehicle to again start, winning the Supply of the Year awards, and I managed to create the only business as a review site that, of course, if I'm reviewing the companies, I can't then go in for the awards myself. So I've kind of scuppered myself really there. So I'm going to have to again vicariously live my life through you.
That was a very careful move, Simon, because you knew that this whole award-winning thing couldn't last forever. It's a bit like Liverpool. Coronavirus eventually is going to come along and stop your title. That's it.
It's not stopping, mate. 2 weeks, we'll have that trophy there. I don't care how many asterisks or obelixes you put alongside that total win.
But it's true, because they're not going to have the fans there. They're going to have pre-recorded.
You say that. You say they're not going to have.
Are we talking about the Esters?
No, we're talking about Liverpool. But yeah, so are you looking forward to this? So, because it's a really difficult. You and I, we do. Joking aside, we love those events. They're great to get to and everything else.
I love it. Yeah, it was in the beginning. It was ego. It was and it was for you as well. Don't lie.
Of course, no.
But Charlie, how important is winning to you?
To be honest, it became less and less important. It became more important for my staff to go and celebrate their year. It was all for the staff in the end, and it was more important to have a good event where they had fun than the actual format and the learning. Sometimes, I may have enjoyed, one of the awards more than my staff purely because of how it was set up. Winning was great. It was a great reward, but after a while, everyone was like, "Oh, you've won another award," and I thought, what, we give this a rest for a while. Let Assad have a chance, win a few trophies.
Yeah, he's not doing badly at the moment, is he?
No, he's not doing bad.
I turned up to the Negotiator Awards, and I've never been up for an award and never really entered one before. Never been to one. Turned up for the Negotiator Award, and I'm sat on Simon's table, and he goes. Somebody said to me, I think who was it? Might have been Mark Manning. Says, right. So, what award are you up for? And I said, whatever it was, small branch of the year, whatever it was. He goes,
small Jewish single office in North Manchester.
he said, Assad's in that category. You're not getting a look in. So I took my bow tie off. I let my hair down. That was it.
And it was still a better night than Agents Giving.
I can remember the night that my grandmother tragically died in front of me. That was a better night than Agents Giving.
I think I was fortunate enough to miss that one. I only saw you dancing.
Oh man,
Charlie, we spoke about Assad, and he clearly has got an exceptional. Him and Vicky got an amazing business there. Who do you admire at the moment in the industry? Who is it you apart from yourself again? And let's get that out of the way. Who are the businesses that you keep an eye
on? I'm very close with Assad. We work very closely together. I think he's built a fantastic business. As a single office, it's probably one of the best out there.
What do you think he does well? What I mean, if you were to look, obviously you are close to it. So what are the bullet point things you think he does well as a business?
He's created a fantastic culture with Vicky there. They've really got it spot on with the people. There are no passengers on that bus. Everyone is 100% fully focused on what they want to achieve. And
responsibility that
and he's on it with the processes. You know, he spends a lot of time, you know, on the processes and making sure that they're great. And you know, I know I've over this period I've been speaking to him a lot, and I know that he's looking at changing things again.
Yeah.
So as he's great. Friends with Kayak Keaton's as well. I think he's got a great business. We similar sort of brand to us. But in terms of the sort of bigger businesses, when we started, we always looked at Green & Co, to be honest. We thought Green & Co to aspire to. Not anymore, obviously, but at the time, it was a great business. And one of the businesses we looked at, Marsh & Parsons, those were the businesses we looked at in the beginning, but things change,
Yeah. It's a sad lookout, that, isn't it? As you said, Green & Co was such a cultural powerhouse, wasn't it? To see it sort of defanged is not great, is it? I mean, even though they're obviously they're ostensibly still going.
Yeah, well, I think that just proves that brand is not the badge. The brand is the people working within the business. Just because they rebadged those offices from Bairstow Eves to Green & Co, it didn't make any difference, for the majority of them, because it was still the same culture within the business. I think that, when people talk about brands, that's the proof there that brand is nothing to do with the badge and the logo.
But also, brand needs to evolve over the years, so in order to remain relevant, because otherwise you just get brand fatigue. So if people are used to seeing, that's why agents redesign their boards every couple of years and whatever it is, because if they're used to seeing the same thing all the time, it sort of just blends into the background, and it doesn't matter how good you are. Which is why I think Kerfuffle will probably change from pink to red next year or something like that.
The amount of merch we've got out there, we're stuck with it, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Would you ever look at acquisitions yourself, or is it all organic growth for you?
No, we did in sort of 2012, 2013. We were looking at acquisitions. We nearly got there, and it was just frustrating. Just never happened a couple of times, and then we just thought,
why did you feel it fell at the? Was it due diligence and then something came up, or did you just not have a feel?
Yeah, a couple of times it was due diligence. It just wasn't what we thought we were buying. Another time it was the market was moving up, and then all of a sudden the goalpost changed.
Can I ask you about branding? So at the beginning of the show, I do what I always do, and out of total ignorance, asked you a very insensitive question about Anthony Pepe. But that's
fine. You're watching.
That's me. I just want to say to the Pepe family, he's still in our thoughts. But can I ask you another question though? We took over the business here from a guy who was. I think he was doing it for 32 years, and we decided to go embark on a process that we called de-Jeffreyization. So the business was called Jeffrey Normie and Company, and we when we took over, people were still walking in through the door asking to see Jeffrey or asking to speak to Jeffrey, and so we just decided to depersonalize it slightly and still keep the majority of the brand, which was his surname. Which was recognizable. Have you ever been tempted to do that?
Yeah. So the first 6 months, we were not convinced. We basically said, right, let's give this 6 months. We'd spoken to, we had conversations with Wentworth franchise actually before, so we were looking at a Wentworth, but we didn't like the fact that we were restricted area wise.
They've got a lot around you, haven't they? There.
Well, they actually had one in Palmer's Green that failed and closed down, and that's the area we were looking at. We were looking at Haringey as well at the time, but there were a lot of other Winkworths sort of taking the patch, and that wasn't for us at the time. So going back to the question, yes, we weren't convinced. We thought, let's give it 6 months, but actually there was, even though it wasn't that successful, he had a good reputation and he had goodwill, and I think after a couple of months, someone came in and had 2 huge properties across the road and said, look, I was friends with Anthony.
Yeah.
I'd like to give you these properties. And the fees then were like, I think there were over sort of 10 grand each for these 2 massive properties. And we thought, you know what, let's
stick with it.
Let's keep the name. You know, we rebranded quite a lot in the first 4 or 5 years. So we kept on evolving the brand until we got to, you know, the brand that we have now in 2014, which we were sort of comfortable with. We did change the image of the business, because originally it was Anthony Pepe and Co. And swapped that and just modernized it all.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we spoke about businesses there. So what did it? Obviously, Kerfuffle's all about the one of the aspects is all about the suppliers and the partners. Who are the important partners to you as a business, both that you use at the moment and that you've got your eyes on as well?
Well, when we started, we only had to find a property. I think it was that was it. We were paying 50 quid a month to find a property.
I bet you look back on those days with glee, don't you?
Honestly, I remember going on Find Property, clicking on North London and looking at who had the most stock in the whole of North London, and we were like second.
You know what? Back in that day, Find a Property. This is interesting. Find a Property, which I think, by the way, if you are looking for a house, is a much better brand than Zoopla. Just in terms of it does what it says on the tin. But Find a Property had much better traction in London than Rightmove ever did back in the day. And but in the north of England,
Zoopla's still ahead of Rightmove in a lot of places in London as well. I think it's different outside of London. Obviously, when people mention it, they're like, "That's all Rightmove," but in London, Zoopla's a lot stronger.
I remember that, and in the north of England, they'd never heard of Find a Property. I mean, slowly, but I don't know why. Out of all the brands that they had, they decided to retire that one and promote the others. So I think Prime Location was one of them, which was just a posher version of Find a Property.
It's still going, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's still going. They kept that alive. It's just a bit odd.
Just inherited though, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think now the suppliers. I mean, we are one of those agents. You're right, Simon. Where you know the suppliers sort of target us. They think, oh, small independent estate agent. You know, Anthony Pepe, probably because so it's probably first on their list. But yeah, we've tried a lot of suppliers. We've got some good relationships with a lot of suppliers. I would say right now, I've tried not to just go with every single supplier out there, because I think when you do that it dilutes what you're doing in your business. You're almost saying, I don't need people. And it makes everyone lazy, because you just think, right, I'm gonna buy all these products and we don't have to do anything anymore. They're going to do it all for us, and that's not the case. So in my opinion, when I choose a supplier, I'm choosing a supplier because they're going to make things easier for my people, save time, and do things that the people within the business can't do. Not sort of outsource it up in Moneypenny.
You haven't allowed that quite often happens, that splurge, that explosion of suppliers in your business. You've really tried to keep on top of that so that you have got the control element there.
Yeah, when we've there's been times when we've tried suppliers and it hasn't worked, and we've just said, no offense, it's not working. We're not gonna. Yeah. But right now, I mean, companies we're using right now, give a little plug, Spectre, Sprift, good little companies. Obviously, Fixflow we've always used.
And can I ask you another question? What hair product do you use? What's your morning regime? How do we go from sort of bedhead to that? What's the secret?
I should have done it for you, shouldn't I? I should have brought the wax. So I've got a wax. It's called Patrick's. Yeah,
I've never heard of that.
It even hides the grey.
Really? Right, I'm going to Google that. I'm going to get some of that.
That makes you look more austere, the grey, Charlie. I've always said that. Then you've got that whole, who does the Nescafe? None of the Nespresso. Who is he? Clooney. There you are, Clooney. You can have that one for free. You're the Greek George Clooney. There you are. I've said it.
Simon, you could do it, but you'd probably be more Jeffrey Epstein, less George Clooney. That's the problem. Okay, Charlie. So, who, apart from hair products, who have you got your eye on at the moment in terms of suppliers? Is there anything out there at the moment that you're seeing that is particularly interesting?
Well, we've on the viewing side. So, Focal Agent we've started using in terms of
that's the old audio agent, isn't it? Audio agent.
And so we're looking at doing. We've always done Matterport 3D tours anyway, which I think are probably the sort of Rolls Royce of the tours out there. Yeah. So we're now using Focal Agent to do the viewings and basically guide people through the property via the Matterport tour. But we're obviously there doing the guiding, if you get what I mean. They're not doing it on their own. We found that obviously, and that's going to be, I think, a new process anyway. We're always going to do that from now on, because I think that saves a lot of time, especially in lettings. I think lettings, we probably do. I don't know about you, Dave, but we probably do twice as many viewings for lettings as we do for sales. Just to get that deal, and I think. You can really qualify someone if you're speaking to someone and they're on the screen. You can really qualify them while you're doing the viewing. I think that gives you an advantage. You're sitting at your desk and you're qualifying them.
I think so, and I think that process now is because we have to do this, because the guidelines state that we should be doing these things. I think actually by the time you actually get into a property with somebody, whether it's for sales or for lettings, they've had their management, they've had their expectations well and truly managed in advance. And Matterport's extremely realistic. Obviously, you can see every square inch of the house, but it's nice to have a guided tour because you can then add value and basically point out the things that they can't necessarily see for themselves. So I think that's
and for the I mean, we used to do obviously the open houses as well. And now we're gonna start to use Gavel on that. So that's the Australian one, where you're actually in the property, you're doing the tour physically in the property, but instead of having 10 people in the property physically, obviously you can have 100 people online viewing.
Christian Beinfeld's asking, where's the new black merch? I think he means the new black merc.
There you are.
Here we go. Oh, that is fancy.
Little pork pie hat. In fact, you can't do that. Look at that.
Very nice. I like that. That.
That's good. So, how were the protests then on the weekend, Charlie?
But Christian said he's averaging about 4 viewings per let. But the truth is that's I think what Charlie was saying was not that we need to show 20 people to let a flat. It's that you've got 20 inquiries, 20 people that all want to see it. Is that right?
Yeah. You can pre-qualify them without doing the viewings, basically.
Gavel does look very cool. My question is, could you not do the same on Facebook Live?
Could do. You don't have to. You can use Facebook Live. You can use WhatsApp video. You can use Zoom.
As I understand it with Gavel, and I think we're going to be launching them on the site soon with a deal. So watch this space. But one of the things that I think is Gavel's really good at, isn't it, is steering the inquiries and everything else. So it's very easy to lose control of those leads inquiries on Facebook, and that's the issue, isn't it? Wow, that's probably what that's just not.
So to people that say that you cannot repurpose a bra, this is exactly what it's for.
Yeah, but not your bra, David.
I've got an unusually large head, Simon. That's the key. So Charlie, that life has obviously changed in terms of. Oh, that's scary. Life has changed as an agent now due to the virus, but the efficiencies that we're going to be seeing afterwards. Here you go. Mintzy looks like Hannibal Lecter. I love our fans. They're just great.
They are beautiful.
What else do you think we're missing? If you had a magic wand and you could create the perfect piece of prop tech to fill in a gap in the market, it's a gap in our processes, what would it be? And don't say something that churns out industry awards, because that's Charlie Perdios.
How do I say this without absolutely destroying one of the supplies that I've already got? To be honest, I think the thing we do the worst in estate agency is dealing with inquiries. Okay. I think as time has progressed, and we've been more and more reliant on the portals, on Rightmove and Zoopla, and everyone's shouting and screaming about, we don't need Rightmove, we don't need the portals. I think what we're overlooking is the fact that we don't deal with the inquiries very well anyway. So even if if we get 50% of our leads through Rightmove and 50% through Zoopla, the stats are out there that most agents only answer 50% of their inquiries. So why don't they just answer 100% of their inquiries? And then,
do you know what we started looking into? Moneypenny are pushing basically lead qualification. Now, I think if they get the charging model right, then I think that would be the way to go. So basically, you get to hear of that inquiry once they have already spoken to the people. They know the position. They've sifted through all the people that are time wasters, if you like, or the inquiries that never go anywhere. 3/4 of my Zoopla inquiries will go in the bin, I'm sure. But that I think that is a service that you could look at. The other thing,
a lot of people are looking at outsourcing now, in terms of inquiries or changing their model. I think people want to go back. But they want to go more sort of to the Australian model where, you've got all rounders within your business, because you don't want your really, really highly skilled people to be spending all their time sifting through inquiries and doing administrative duties. You want them to be doing deals. So I think one of the things a lot of forward-thinking agents are doing right now is either outsourcing their inquiries to someone like, it could be someone like Moneypenny, or having a dedicated department just purely dealing with inquiries. Now, I think it depends. There's no sort of one size fits all, because it depends on the agency. So if you're a small boutique agency and you don't have the volume of inquiries, then, what's the point outsourcing it, really? It's really, if you want to get rid of the volume, then you can look at outsourcing things or separating it all.
Have you considered outsourcing your sales progression?
I haven't. No. I've looked at it in the past. However, I've heard some sort of nightmare stories, and I don't think, I haven't seen a solution where people have said to me, right, this is great, this really works, to be honest. Maybe there is one out there, but I haven't heard of one. I've just heard of the nightmare stories where people say to me, Jesus Christ, I had a pregnant pipeline, and
and more importantly, David, he hasn't had a chance to tell his in-house sales progressors yet.
We used to have in-house sales progressors, but now we've given that job back to the staff. But we've got the world's most expensive sales progressor, Ari Theodori, working for us, so he's got it all under control.
It's funny because I never considered outsourcing sales progression until I participated in one of the Kerfuffle webinars, and they had one on sales progression, and there you've got several different services who all claim to have quite a high percentage of success. But also, we spoke to an agent. I can't remember which one it was, Simon, but there was an agent that was basically said, look, we've been using it. Now all we do is focus on bringing in the business. And you don't really get thanked for your amazing sales progression. Yes, we know it's the glue that holds everything together.
It's specialization, though, isn't it? Is the more that you can reduce in terms of administration or anything else, allows you to focus on what you do. What do you specifically? I mean, look at Christian's asked a quite reasonable question there. If you outsource everything, what makes you you? I do agree with that. And I'm not saying that you should outsource everything, but there is no part of the business, I think, that can't be. And it's just deciding which bits that actually you don't do well. I think there's no point proceeding and persisting with the stuff that you keep doing poorly.
Yeah. I think with outsourcing, I think the big, obviously, if it works, that's brilliant. But the other thing is, obviously, you can take it away very, very quickly. If it's not working, and you need to scale back costs, you just cut it. Whereas if you're hiring someone, you've got to make redundancies. So it's a lot easier to cut costs and scale up and down if you're outsourcing. So that is one advantage. But obviously, you don't want to outsource everything.
No.
And I think people are too quick to outsource things, because I think what a lot of agents think is, if I outsource it, then automatically we're just going to do more deals. That doesn't always happen.
No. Because you're spot on there. If you aren't measuring, keeping hold of those metrics, and actually you see no demonstrable increase in the business there, then something's gone wrong, hasn't it? And you're just taking your foot off the pedal.
Yeah, and that's what happens, I think, with Moneypenny a lot of the time. People think, and I've seen it, I'll be honest with you, I've seen it in my business, and we do use Moneypenny. Moneypenny are fantastic. But there's been times in the business when people think, it's all right. Phone's ringing, Moneypenny will answer it. And you're like, it does happen in businesses.
Yeah. I think Christian's experiment's worth a go. Even just as a publicity stunt, I think that would be a great idea. We'd get a headline in the property industry, I think.
Yeah, and probably a few lawsuits as well, so that'd be good. Right, we're going to have to call it quits, guys, because we are actually bouncing around, believe it or not. I think we've got about 47 different webinars today, and we've got the wonderful people from I Am Sold coming up next on the official Kerfuffle one. Charlie, you are doing a good job out there, aren't you, with that hair? You're really sticking it.
I made an extra effort today, obviously, because I knew you were going to mention something about my hair.
You wore pants.
Well, no, I'm not wearing pants.
That's the industry's not ready for that, Charlie.
I think I have. You put best hair industry under you, not me. I think that's technical.
Mate, you can always have the best hair in the industry under you, but you might regret it in the morning.
Oh,
I think we need to end it there.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Charlie. Cheers, mate. Cheers, David.
Simon, do that thing that we do. Wave at the end. Silly. So you don't need to do that. I just hit the button.
Oh, right.